Okay, we live now. Let me send it to people.
All right.
How do you send it? You know how to send it?
I think it have to be you. Like whoever opened the room. I think it.
Okay. All right. You start whenever you're ready. Unless you want to give people time to chime in.
All right. We're gonna get started. So, shalom, family. We just came out tonight to do I believe this will be a pretty short video explaining how head coverings for Israelite women is not a law. We're doing this because most camps they push this as if it's a law, but biblically that's just not true. So we're gonna go through some scriptures tonight, and show you otherwise. Right, so we're gonna start in the verse first in First Corinthians 11 on verse 5. Elder Gary, you got that?
Yeah, I got you. First Corinthians 11 and 5. But every woman that prayeth or prophesies with her head uncovered dishonors her head, for that is even all one as if she were shaven.
All right. So this is the verse that they used to say that women must cover their hair. We're gonna continue. So 1 second. Yeah, so we're gonna continue down the verse.
Okay, and 6. You want me to read 6?
Yeah.
1 Corinthians 11 and 6. For if the woman be not covered, let her also be shorn. But if it be a shame for a woman to be shorn or shaven, let her be covered.
All right. So first and foremost, when it says that a woman praying with her head covered dishonors her head, we all know that the head of the woman is a man, whether it be her husband or her father, or the case may be. And then verse 6 now is saying If it be a shame for a woman to be shorn or shaven, let her be covered. So this is saying right here, if a woman has shorn hair or shaven hair, which is shorn is like short hair, and shaven is obviously a clean shaven, it's saying for her to be covered at that point, right? Now we get to jump down to verse 15.
15. 1 Corinthians 11 and 15. But if a woman have long hair, it is a glory to her, for her hair is given her for a covering.
All right, so there's a verse right here that's telling you right there that the woman's hair itself is a covering, right? But a lot of camps they like to push it as though it's a law for a woman to wear a head covering or a veil, when right here it's clearly saying that the woman's long hair itself is given to her for a covering, right?
Right.
So that covers that verse there. Now, but now we're gonna go over some verses that actually show that a woman wearing a veil or a head covering is actually considered uh, a shameful thing, or they did during a time of mourning.
Right.
All right. Let me just get up my. Computer.
You want me to pull one up?
Yeah, I was just getting on my computer, but so
Okay.
so let's jump to Genesis. Genesis 38 and 14, I believe it is.
All right. Genesis 38 and 14. And she put her widow's garment off of her and covered her with a veil and wrapped herself and sat in an open place, which is by the way to Timonith. For she saw that Shelah was grown and she was not given unto him to wife.
Right. So this right here, this talking about Tamar, when she deceived Judah into believing that she was a harlot. Right. She said she put on the parable of harlot where she covered her face, right, because she covered herself because that's a shameful thing. Right.
All right. Here's verse 15, Genesis 38 and 15. When Judah saw her, he thought her to be a harlot because she had covered her face.
Right. So there you have it right there. He perceived her to be a harlot because she was covered at that point, right? So this is a show that it was a custom back then when a woman was in a time of shame or doing something shameful. They would cover themselves up.
Right. So looking at this one, it looks like she had something covering her head and her face. Like the veil went all the way over, kind of like when the priest who removed the veil off of the woman when he was judging her.
Right. Yeah, we're gonna go to that one next. I believe that's in Numbers 5 and 18.
Numbers 5 and 18. Yeah, this is one of the ones that a lot of people would use to prove like it's a law that a woman must be covered, and they would go to Numbers. Was it 5 and 18? You said?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. It says on Numbers 5 and 18, and the priest shall set the woman before the Lord and uncover the woman's head and put the offering of memorial in her hands, which is the jealousy offering, and the priest shall have in his hand the bitter water that causes the curse.
All right. So here we see a couple of things. The being, if it was a law, for a woman that she must have her head covered. The priest will not be uncovering her hair because therefore he'd be breaking the law, and we know no priest is going to be breaking the law, right?
Yeah, that's an excellent point. That if it was a law, the priest would not be in the tabernacle breaking the law. If it's a law for a woman to have her head covered, why is this priest uncovering her head in the tabernacle? You're right.
Right. And
Excellent.
then also now we see here there's a thing, another shameful situation that this woman is being accused of committing adultery of her husband. That there's a lot of jealousy, right? So during this time of shame, she had her head covered.
Right. So they would cover their heads during the time of shame, and
Right.
and I guess when the priest is now judging her, because she's in judgment now, he would remove the covering, the veil, so that it's kind of like saying you're not guilty. You're innocent until proven guilty. I'm about to judge you now.
Right.
Right. Otherwise, there's no shame. You're being judged right now. Yeah. I see that.
Right. All right.
That's kind of like what happened with your girl Suzanne. If you want, I can go to that one.
Yeah, let's go to that one.
All right. That's gonna be in Susanna 132. Let me grab it. All right, this is the book of Susanna in the Apocrypha, verse 32. And these wicked men commanded that to uncover her face, for she was covered, that they might be filled with her beauty.
Right. So if anyone's unfamiliar with the story of Susanna, at this point she's being accused of she's being accused by these elders who are now judging her. So, let me just.
You there?
Yeah.
Okay.
My bad. I'm just putting up on my computer, but yeah, she's being accused by these elders, right? And they're here judging her. So at this point in time now, once again, she went into a shameful situation. So she got her hair covered. She got her face, head and face covered. And at this point, which the elder just read, they're saying that at that point, to take off her covering, so that they can see her face at that point.
Right. A lot of brothers and sisters, as you said, may not be familiar with the story of Susanna. It's just one chapter in the Apocrypha where she had what was her story again? There was it was two. They had elected two elders that year to judge Israel, and they used to go up to her husband's house to do the judgments. The people used to come and get judged. And one day, the two of them had turned back and said, they asked each other, "What you turn back for?" He's like, "Yo, I'm trying to get with Susanna." He's like, "Yeah, me too." And so they both decided to plot and catch her by herself, and they did. And then they said to her, "Listen, let us do this thing to you. Let us have sex with you. Otherwise, if you scream out, we're gonna tell people that we saw you with another dude cheating on your husband, and she's gonna be put to death for that after judgment. But if you don't scream out, we'll do this thing and nothing happens." So she was like, "Woe is me. If I do this thing, I'm damned. And if I don't do it, I'm damned." So she decided to do the righteous thing, and she screamed out. And then when the people came, they was like, the two elders were like, "Hey, we saw her with another dude." And so they was about to kill her. And so these two are the judges that's going to judge her and the accuser of her. Like they say, judge, jury and prosecutor. So just to familiar them with that story, I'll start at 1:27 and read it. You can break it down. This is Susanna 1:27. But when the elders had declared their matter, the servants were greatly ashamed, for there never was such a report made of Susanna. You want to break that down?
Yeah.
Shame.
So let explain it. At this point now, they're accusing her of committing adultery, but everyone, it says here that the servants were shocked because this was a righteous woman. You know, they never heard nothing like this about her, that she would do something like that.
Right. And it's showing the fact that they say it's greatly ashamed. This is a time of shame now.
Right.
And it came to, this is 28, and it came to pass the next day, when the people were assembled, to her husband's, Joachim, the two elders came also full of mischievous against Susanna to put her to death. So it looked like they wanted, they came ready to put her to death. And this was the next day. So she had to bear that shame for at least a day of this allegation that she's put under. All right. I'll go down to 29. And said before the people, send for Susanna, the daughter of, I can't say his name, and Joachim's wife. And so they sent, 32. And these wicked men commanded to uncover her face, for she was covered, that they might be filled with her beauty. So it looked like the fact that the Bible highlights the fact that, in parentheses, for she was covered, meaning she's not normally covered. And so they uncovered her face because now they're about to judge her. And so that face have to be uncovered so that they can see her and take that shame off of her. And then they're going to go ahead and do their judgment.
Right. So once again, this is the show that when they will cover themselves when they're going through a shameful time. All right. When we get a couple more verses, there's one in Jeremiah. This is not necessary for a woman, but just to show that it was the custom when they were ashamed to cover their head. Right? So we're gonna go to Jeremiah 14, verse 3.
Jeremiah 14. 14 and what?
And we can start at verse 3.
Verse 3. Jeremiah 14 and 3. And their nobles sent their little ones to the waters. They came to the pits and found no water. They returned with their vessels empty. They were ashamed and confounded and covered their heads.
All right. So once again, we see that when they're ashamed back then, it was their custom to cover up their head, to cover up that shame. Right. I believe we can even continue to the next verse. It says the same thing.
Because the ground is chapped, for there was no rain in the earth. The plowmen were ashamed. They covered their heads.
Right. So once again, we see when they're in a time of shame, they proceed to cover their heads to cover up that shame. So we know it was a custom back then with Israel to cover their head in a time of shame.
Yeah. Yeah, I got one. If I may, I can pull one in additions to Esther, where it was also another one where there was a shame.
All right.
This addition to Esther 14 and 2. And laid away her glorious apparel and put on the garments of anguish and mourning. And instead of precious ointment, she covered her head with ashes and dung, and she humbled her body greatly. And all the places of her joy she filled with her torn hair. So she covered her head with ashes. I guess she, because sometimes they would throw ashes in the air or they put ashes over their heads. just for a covering, a shameful covering.
Yeah, or in the time of mourning, like I think it says it there.
Or the time of mourning.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, there was let me see if I can grab another precept to back up what you were saying. Wait, you can continue. Well, I have a few more precepts of them covering their heads in the time of shame.
Yeah, I got a couple. I got one too in Psalms. We can go Psalms 109, verse 29.
Psalms 109:29. Let my adversaries be clothed with shame, and let them cover themselves with their own confusion as with a mantle. That's something you protect over your head.
Right. So again, we see the same thing. Them covering their head in a time of shame. Right. So when council are calling this law, number one, they have to understand that they can't show a law to actually say that a woman have to cover their head, and we see all throughout scripture as we've shown that they actually did this in a time of shame. So I believe it's just ridiculous to the madness of women without the scriptural backup. You say you had a couple more verses you want to bring up?
Yeah. When David was up in I'll read it in Second Samuel 15:30, when David's son was trying to take him out, was trying to kill him, and they was ashamed and they went away when he chased them out of Jerusalem. 2 Samuel 15:30, and David went up by the ancient of the Mountain Olive and wept as he went up, and had his head covered, and he went barefoot, and all the people that was with him covered every man his head, and they went up weeping as they went up. Right, so these are not women; these are men, but they covered their heads, just showing shame.
Right, but it's a good verse to show that it wasn't a thing for only women, but men as well. There's a custom for them in general that when in the time of mourning or shame, that they would proceed to cover their heads. So this is not a normal thing to where these camps are telling women they must cover their head while they're in the congregation or wherever the case may be. Right. I think let me see. I had a couple more. All right, get this one in Genesis 65.
Genesis
24:65, my bad.
Genesis 24:65. Genesis 24:65. For she has said unto the servant, what man is this that walketh in the field to meet us? And the servant had said, this is my master. Therefore she took a veil and covered herself. This is a great one to show. A lot of guys will go here to show. You see, our sister covered herself up when she was in the presence of a man as he came, and they would use this one to show, not that it's a law, but like an example of a sister covering herself up. Whether she covered her head or she covered, it was because of that word is also for shawl, like she covered herself up with a mantle or a shawl over her body. But let's say it was her head. When they would say that this is a good verse to show that this is a custom for them to cover themselves. You go ahead, brother.
But as a verse says there, right? She only put on the veil once the other man approached. So that means before that, she was uncovered.
Right, and she was there with the servant, because the servant is a male, and he says, for she had said unto the servant, what man is this that walketh in the field to meet us? So she was there with another person, a man, and she wasn't covered all that time. All right, and And if we're saying that this man, he's not her head yet because they're not married yet, right?
Right.
So to her, he's a man. She just want to look her best when he comes. She know that's what she's coming to be with, but he hadn't agreed to her. They hadn't went on into each other. They're not married yet. So that mean in the meanwhile, her head was who? Her father.
Right. Right.
So if her father's her head, why is she not covering her head? Is she dishonoring her father?
Right. And we all know no righteous woman is gonna do that. Right.
And she's there with it. She's there with the servant with her head uncovered. So this is one that they would use to show that you see, the sister's supposed to cover themselves, cover their heads, but this is actually prove the opposite because she's there with someone and she's not covered. She only became covered when Isaac came up,
Right.
and she wasn't covered before that, and they just took a long trip to get there. Maybe she would, look out of place and not looking her best, and he's coming, so she's like, "Oh, let me touch myself up a bit, look nice, so when this I can be presentable and find whatchamacallit in his eyes, because he's coming to check out the goods, basically."
Right.
Yeah, that's a good verse. But it proves the opposite of what a lot of people say it's proven. Instead of proving that they're supposed to do that or it's a law to do that, it's proven that there you have a sister there with someone and she's not covered.
Exactly. Right. No, you had any more verses? I think I went through all mine.
Okay. No, we can go to finish up back to the the 1 Corinthians if you want.
All right, let's go back there. I guess we can start back at you want to read over that one again?
Yeah, let me go back to. I'm trying to get to it real quick. 1 Corinthians 11 and 5. All right. Yeah, so we're just dealing with the sisters. I guess we can deal with the men and head coverings in a later time, but I'll start from the beginning where it says, "Be ye followers of me." This is 1 Corinthians 11 and 1. "Be you followers of me, even as I also am followers of Christ, as I am of Christ. Now I praise you, brethren, that you remember me in all things and keep the ordinances as I deliver them to you. But I would have you know that the head of every man is Christ, and the head of every woman is the man, and the head of Christ is Yah. Every man that prophesied, having it praying or prophesying with his head covered, dishonors his head. But every woman that pray or prophesy with her head uncovered dishonors her head. For as that is even all one as if she were shaven. For if the woman be not covered, let her also be shorn." So here when it says let her also be shorn, also meaning like at least, we see it as also, but in the blue letter or the Strongs, it's not just also, it'd be like even, let her even be shorn. Shorn is like, as the brother said earlier, it's like low hair. So if the woman be not covered, let her at least have low hair, right? But if it be a shame for a woman to have low hair or shaven, shorn or shaven, another word for shorn is pole. Let her be covered. So in this culture that he's addressing in Corinth, they have a custom there. There's a Roman, they're under Roman authority at that moment, and they have a custom there. If a woman was found to be adulterous, she would have her head shaven. Also, I looked into a little bit with the goddess Aphrodite. That was the biggest religion in Corinth at the time, where they would show their worship to her by shaving their heads. The women will, the men would grow their hair and show themselves for temple. It was called temple prostitution. So he's addressing these things. A lot of people don't realize that Corinthians 1 and 2, these are not letters, these are answers to letters. So he wrote a letter to answer a letter, because he said to them, those things that you wrote to me about, I'm gonna answer the media matters in this letter, the small things I put in place when I get there. So we gotta assume the letter that was written, the things that they complain about, whether it's these people coming into this church that they have now with these shaven heads, or the people that are telling them, you know, if you have your head shaven, you'll have to cover. Maybe some type of uproar about it, and Paul is trying to address it. So he said, the woman that pray or prophesy with her head uncovered, dishonor her head. So there's no doubt about that. If you don't have your head covered, you dishonor your head when praying and prophesying. Meaning, if you're not praying, if you're not prophesying, then this don't apply. It's just saying when you're praying and prophesying, and as the brother did earlier, after 5, he jumped down to 15 to show you that you do have to cover. Now, what is that cover? Is it a veil? Is it a mantle? Is it a baseball cap? Is it a wig? Is it weave? What's the cover? So here it says, but if a woman have long hair, it's a glory to her, for her hair is given her for a covering. I wish I knew how to share my screen. Where it says her hair is given her for a covering, that word is not for in the Greek. That word is instead. Her hair is given to her instead, and covering means veil. So it would read this way in the Greek. If you get a chance to go into your blue letters or your Strongs or whatever. But if a woman have long hair, it is a glory to her, for her hair is given her instead of a veil. That word instead also means opposite to or opposing. So instead of a veil, she's given her hair. Right? 16, it says something interesting. But if any man seems to be contentious, we have no such custom, neither the church of Yah. This is not he's not even addressing our custom. That's not our custom. He's not even saying our custom is not to be contentious. Our custom is not with this having to cover your heads and this and that. That's not our custom, right? So that's why he says in 5, I think it was 5, in 6, for if the woman be not covered, let her also be shorn. Where is it that he says, if it is a shame?
Oh yeah, verse 6. It says, let her also be shorn, but if it
let her also be shorn. But if it be a shame for a woman to be shorn or shaven, let her be covered. So he's not addressing our custom. He's addressing their custom by saying, if it be a shame, not saying that it is a shame, but if indeed it is a shame, let her be, what was I saying? If it be a shame, let her be covered. So now what is that cover? We got to remember in 15, it tells you what the cover is. It says, but if a woman have long hair, if she have long hair, it's a glory to her. That's a statement right there on its own. If she have long hair, glorious. All right, good, great, perfect. Then he has the two dots. It says, for her hair, whether it be long or whatever, for her hair is given her instead of a veil or for a covering. It's right there in the verse. We can't accept verse 5 and then deny verse 6, or say verse 5 is literal and can't accept verse 5 and deny verse 15, or say verse 5 is literal and verse 15 is, I don't know what they say, spiritual, whatever.
Yeah.
But I like what you pointed out, the two verses that we normally go to say that the head covering is a law would be when the priest is uncovering the woman because of her in the temple, which, as you said, if it was a law for her to be covered in the temple, he would not uncover her in the temple.
Right.
He would not break the law. So that's a great point. And then the second one is people would go to is when was it Sarah who saw Isaac, and she covered herself with a veil. That's not a law. And even if it was a custom, and let's say it's a custom, it still doesn't equate to a law. So when we say to the sisters, you have to cover your head, because it only have to be because of opinions or because of custom or whatever you want to say. But I don't know if you showed it, but I just didn't see a law that says a sister have to cover their head. I would love to see that law. I know there's a law for a man mustn't lie with mankind. I know there's a law for fringes. I know there's a law for not eating pork. And it says, speaking to the children of Israel, da, da, da. But I just don't see a law that says that our sisters must cover their heads or else this or else that. If a person says a preference, now we're not saying a sister cannot cover her head. That's your choice. But the Most High have given you a covering. It's your hair. If you choose to, adorn your head or cover your head, that's your choice. It's a preference. We're not saying yay or nay, but what we're saying is when a brother or a sister say to another sister, it is a law, you must cover your head. That's where the error is. Just when someone says it is a law that you must cover your head, because there is no law saying you must cover your head.
Right.
That was my 2 cents.
Right. That was well explained by the elder. Right. So yeah, we just wanted to bring this up just to show that like you said, this is not a law. It is a preference. If a woman wants to cover their head, that's fine. Or if that woman is married and her husband prefer her to cover her head, then what he says that's law for her. But we cannot demand and say that women have to wear coverings by law. So I believe that covers that. Unless you something else you want to bring out or say, Elder?
No, I was trying to work out how to share my screen. Let me see something. Am I sharing my screen?
Yes, I know.
My screen being shared now?
Yeah, I can see it.
Oh, let me see if I can go to the blue letter. You can see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, let me go to where we're in 1 Corinthians 11. You still see my screen? Man, you can't see my screen. Oh, okay, there it is. All right, I'm gonna go to interlinear. All right, thanks. But if a woman have long hair, it is a glory to her, for her hair is given her for a covering. So let's look at the word for.
You want to know?
Oh, you can't hear me? You can't hear me? Well, I'm going to stop sharing if you can't hear me.
Yeah, your voice just
Oh, no. I'm going to stop screen. You hear me better now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay, I'm going to try again. What I did, I pulled up the word that's used for a covering, and there's the Greek word anti. That's where we get antichrist, against. The word anti means against. But let me try to go back to it. Share screen. I don't want to see that again. I'm going to share. Oh, let me go to it. You can see now?
No.
You don't see nothing? This is not my world. I'm going to come out of this. Cancel that. All right. Yeah, I don't know. Can you share your screen?
Let me see. I don't think I can because I didn't open the room. I don't think. Yeah. I don't see no option for that here.
Oh, okay. All right, no problem. I'm gonna try one more time. I'm gonna go to screen. Don't show me this again. Let me share my screen. And can you see me sharing?
No, right now it's just your picture.
How about now?
No, it's still nothing.
Yeah, man. I need y'all. Oh, let me hit share. How about now? Yeah, but you're breaking up. I'm gonna just say it without you. Right here. The word is anti. You could, for a covering. Covering is the word. A covering thrown around or wrap, a mantle or a veil. Right, a covering or a vesture. In the definition, a veil. Right. So it's a veil. Let me go back to it. So a woman long hair, it is a glory to her, for her hair is given her anti a veil, anti a covering, against. I go back to the word against. Anti, and it's
Strong's G 473 anti.
Anti. Over, against, opposite to, before, or instead of, in place of something. Instead of, for that, because, wherefore, for this cause. So that's what her hair is given to her. Anti a veil. Anti. Now I'm gonna stop sharing so I can hear Brother Daniel. Oh, I must have kicked him out. All right.
My thing cut off for some reason.
I think I might have done something wrong. I don't know what I'm doing, but it's done now. All right. So yeah, that's my 2 cents. Go ahead. You can go ahead and finish up if whatever you want to do.
All right. So in conclusion, family, as we showed in the proof here, biblically, by law, a woman does not have to wear head covering. Like the elder brought out, it is just a preference. If she wants to wear one, there's nothing wrong with that. Or if her husband prefer her to wear one, she has to obey her husband. But
Not to cut you off. Sorry about that. Can I show one? I just thought of one. I found it where the custom of Babylonian women, they used to wear head covers. Not saying it's a bad thing, but that was their custom. In Isaiah 47, 1 and 2, it says, come down and sit in the dust, O virgin daughters of Babylon. Sit on the ground. There is no throne, O daughters of the Chaldeans. For thou shalt no more be called tender and delicate. Take the millstones and grind meal. Uncover thy locks. Make bare the leg, uncover the thigh, pass over the rivers. Uncover thy locks. So that lets you know they used to have their locks covered. Their hair. Locks just mean a lock of hair. They used to have their hair covered. The daughters of the Babylonians, the virgin daughters.
right.
There was one, I just don't know where it's at now, where there was a somebody kicked her out of the house. Was it Tamar? They kicked her out of the house and they told the servant to lock the door behind her. Yeah, I think that was it might have been editions of Esther, where they locked the doors behind her and she put her hand on her head.
Let me see if I got that one.
Yeah. She got kicked out.
You're talking about the one that says I think in addition to Esther 14:2.
That's what it was.
So
That's what it
says and laid away her glorious apparel and put on the garments of anguish and mourning instead of precious ointments. She covered her head with ashes.
Can we read up a little bit so we can get a little bit of context?
Yeah. Pull up on my computer.
Addition to Esther 14:2. Addition to Esther 14.
So I'll start at verse 1.
No, I don't think that was the one though. Where's that one? That she. Yeah, I forgot that one, but whichever one that was, it was she got kicked out the house, and he told his servant go lock the door behind her, and she walked away with her, and she covered her hair with her hands. I just can't find it right now.
Oh, so that's 2 Samuel's 2 Samuel 13 and 17.
Okay. 2 Samuel 13 and 17.
Yes, it says, then he called his servant that ministered unto him and said, put now this woman out from me, and bolt the door after her.
Right.
And Tamara put ashes on her head and rent her garment of different colors that was on her, right, and laid her hand on her head.
She laid her hand on her head.
I went off crying. Right.
It went off crying. Yeah. So when she got kicked out, and when she got kicked out of the house, he said, lock the door behind her. And they locked the door behind her. So when she heard that door locked, she was ashamed because she used to, live gloriously. And she put ashes in her head. She covered her head with her hand and walked away. There was one I wanted to pull out in I think it's in the New Testament, where there was a lady that was out and about with her head uncovered. That's in Luke 7 and 44. 44.
Right. It says, and he turned to the woman and said unto Simon, seest thou this woman? I enter into thine house, thou gavest me no water for my feet.
I'm going to assume this is an Israelite woman, right?
Right.
She's there with them. All right, continue.
But she had washed my feet with tears and wiped them with the hairs of her head.
She wiped it with the hairs of her head. If it's a law that she have to be covered up, she's in front of our Messiah, and she's not covered up. She's wiping his feet with the hairs of her head. She's exposing her hairs. It's not a law. Do me a favor and read Romans 4:15, then you can conclude.
Right.
It's not a law. We can't make a law and then enforce a law that we made up. If it was a law, we push it as a law.
Right. So this is Romans 4, verse 15. Because the law worketh wrath, for where no law is, there is no transgression.
So where no law is, there is no transgression. If there's no law, go ahead and give me 1 John was it 3 and 4? But here in Romans 4:15, where the brother just read, because the law worketh wrath, for where no law is, there is no transgression. How can you transgress the law if it's not a law? How can you be in sin if it's not a law? How can you be breaking a law if it's not a law? You can't add laws. The Bible talks about adding laws.
Right.
You got that in Scripture?
Yeah. So this is 1 John chapter 3 and verse 4. It says, whosoever committeth sin transgress
Whoever
also
commits sin, they transgress the law. Why?
for sin is the transgression of the law.
Sin is the transgression of the law. There is no law concerning head coverings for the woman. So when we read here in Romans 4:15, because the law work wrath, for where no law is, there is no transgression. We can't add laws to it. And if you're going to say that 1 Corinthians 11, you can go to it. 1 Corinthians 11 and 5 is a law that our beloved brother Paul made up a new law. We can accept that if that's what you want to say. Read that law if that's the law that we're gonna. Since there's no place in the Bible you're gonna find that to be a law in the Old Testament or the New. But if we're gonna say that our beloved brother Paul is giving us a new law, no problem. Let's accept that. Let's ride that law through. Go ahead and read in 1 Corinthians 11 and 5.
It says, but every man that prayeth and prophesieth, every woman that prayeth and prophesieth with her head uncovered, dishonoreth her head, for that is even all one as if she was shaven.
Right. So now, if verse 5 is a law that every woman that pray or prophesy, those two things, he's very clear. He didn't say if a woman don't have a head cover is dishonor. If a woman pray or prophesy with her, and most people that push this as a law, they don't talk about praying and prophesying. They're saying, oh, he just mentioned those things, but he really meant always have it on. For any woman that pray or prophesy with her head uncovered, dishonors her head. If that's the law that Paul made, we accept it and we're going to ride with it, but we're not going to stop there. We're going to continue the verse. Go ahead and read from 15.
Verse 15. But if a woman have long hair, it is a glory to her, for
Why?
her hair is given instead of a veil.
So if Paul said that a woman should pray and prophesy with her head covered, and you now have to ask the next question, well, what's the covering? Because a lot of people are going to say, your covering is this, your covering is that. It got to be a hat. It got to be a wig. It got to be a mantle. It got to be a veil. It got to be a shawl. It got to be a whatever. He just told you what the covering is. For her hair is given her instead of a veil. If that's a law that Paul is making up. But he told you in verse 16, this is not a law. Read verse 16.
But if any man seem to be contentious, we have no such custom.
We have no such custom. We don't know law concerning this thing. Keep going.
Neither the churches of Yah.
Neither the churches of Yah. Neither the congregations. It's not our custom. We don't do this. It's not something we push. There's a law concerning multiple wives. It didn't say you have to have multiple wives, unless, of course, you have a wife and your brother died, and you need to do your brother duty and marry his ex or his widow, so you can produce a child. Then you end up with two wives, and that in that case is a law. But there's no law concerning the head covering where you can even put it together like that to say, see, you got to have a head covering in one way or another. All right. That's my 2 cents. If you want to conclude, brother.
All right. So with that, hopefully, the verses we brought out is enough proof to show you that it's definitely not a law for women to wear a head covering. But of course, everyone should do their own research. Go back and review the verses we brought out, and like the other brought out, go look in the Greek in 1 Corinthians, so you can see that there, that it says the woman's hair was given to her instead of a veil, right? That will show you right there. Right.
All right. And I'm gonna conclude my part and end it with a verse in Deuteronomy 4:2. And it says this: ye shall not add, and this is coming from our beloved Bishop Jonathan, you shall not add unto the word which I command you, neither shall you diminish aught from it, that you may keep the commandments of the Lord your Yah, which I command you. You're not allowed to add to the word, brothers or sisters. Now you can say, well, I don't feel like an Israelite woman unless I have on a haircut. That's your what's it, your personal I don't know the word to use, Brother Daniel.
Preference.
Preference. Yeah, that's your personal preference. But as we said before, the issue is when a brother or a sister say to a sister or a congregation, you have to wear a head covering. It is a law. It's not a law. Stop it. It's not a law that you have to have multiple wives unless your brother died and this and that. But there is a law conducting it when you do have them. If you love one and hate the other, this and that. I'm not gonna go too long, but it's not a law. We cannot add to the law. If you do add to the law, tell a brother or a sister that our sisters have to wear a head covering. You are adding to the law, and all the plagues from this book shall be added to you.
All right, that's an excellent point right there.
With that, we say shalom, brothers and sisters.
Shalom.